And the president, whether he thinks the Supreme Court's going to overturn his tariffs, we don't know. But he is going to be, it looks like, rolling back tariffs on more than 200 food items, like beef and coffee, to help bring those prices down for the American people. Here to discuss, Charlie Hurt, Fox News contributor, co-host of Fox and Friends Weekend, and Andrew Gruel, chef and restaurant owner. Charlie, there's some in the trade world that saw the move to lower tariffs as a tacit admission that the tariffs increase the cost of goods for consumers, something that the Trump administration had kind of said was not really happening. Your take on that?
Right. Well, I think that, obviously we have been all told for decades that tariffs are a disaster for the economy. And what we have seen, because President Trump questions a lot of the most basic things that we've all been told by the political class for decades, and he's demonstrated that while obviously there may be some hidden problems with these tariffs, the bottom line is that they have been very beneficial in terms of getting a lot of major political wins, a lot of geopolitical wins with foreign countries. And it has not been this disaster for the economy that we have been predicted, that has been predicted for so long. And I'm one of those people who I'm a free trade guy. You're a free trade gal generally. So I kind of remain open. And one thing I'm sure of is that all of the people who have been lecturing us for decades about all of this have been proven wrong again and again and again, and I'm willing to give this a shot.
Yeah, Andrew, earlier today, Chuck Schumer claimed that his entire career has been about helping Americans. Watch.
Look, I am doing what I have done for my whole career. I'm fighting hard to bring Americans' costs down. I'm fighting hard to deliver for New York. I've done that my whole career. I'm going to continue to do that, period.
Andrew, you've been in the restaurant business for a long time. You've seen the ups and downs of the entire field. Chuck Schumer, when you think of someone who's going to bring small businesses into a state, into a city, has his approach really worked?
Chuck Schumer only represents big government. Big government goes against the idea that small and medium-sized businesses are there to help and build the economy as the engine of the economy. In addition, let's just look at Chuck Schumer's burger-making abilities. He puts cheese on a raw burger, so I'm not going to take anything he has to say seriously because he's going to get us all sick, both literally and figuratively by virtue of the economy. What we need right now is we need to streamline the process. We need to deregulate the process. We need to look at the supply chain as a whole and each point along the supply chain. So transportation is a huge part of that. We bring down the cost of transportation, what it costs to bring these trucks into the ports, bringing the cost of fuel down. That's going to help the products. And then deregulating all of the local farmers. We talk about free market right here. Small and medium-sized farmers need to be able to compete on this playing field. Chuck Schumer loves when there's only a few large companies running the economy because then he can control them better. We need the small and medium-sized businesses to be able to enter the playing field.
I mean, Charlie, I think that admission by Fareed Zakaria that the affordability crisis is most acute in liberal-run areas was quite something, actually. I've known Fareed since I was like at Dartmouth, and that was something. And the Democrats are having to grapple with this big time. They tried to push it off on Trump, but Trump's doing, every day he's doing something new to bring costs down and bring wages up for Americans. But what about that? Are liberals trying to, nudge the leftists on this one?
Yeah, I think all of this ties into the interview, that fascinating interview you just did with the documentary maker talking about the California wildfires. Because if you think about it, Democrats and leftists, everything to them is ideological. Everything is about power to them. They don't care about actual results. And so things like science and nature, they're willing to throw all of that out the window if it allows them to accrue power. That's all they care about. And you have somebody like Donald Trump, who, whatever you think of him, he is not an ideological guy. He's a very practical guy, and it's why he talks about all these common sense solutions. And it's why he has managed to steal so many of their voters, because he talks common sense about practical issues as opposed to these weird ideological things that winds up getting the Palisades burned to the ground or children getting mutilated.
Or children being, abused because of open borders. The list goes on and on.
Yes.
Charlie, Andrew, both of you, thank you so much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.